As it is written, the kingdom is within us. Come together and discuss the issues within the kingdom. Speak your peace. Speak the truth. For the kingdom is at hand. Kingdom Conversations.
Peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings to the whole house. Brother C, you always call the whole house and say peace and blessings to them. Why would you say peace and blessings to the whole house, Brother C? Well, I say peace and blessings to the whole house. What do I mean by that? And why am I asking the Father to bless them? Is because throughout the whole earth, they are the only people that truly need the blessings from the Father. Those people, that whole house, would be the kingdom of the Israelites. You all in the chat, you all that is part of the dispersed all over the earth, according to the book, say the Father would disperse you all over the earth. I am talking to you. Father, once again, we thank you. Thank you for another time to come before your people and have a conversation, something that would edify them. We're not here to argue with anyone, Father, and we thank you for the spirit of peace. We thank you for the spirit of knowledge that we don't have to argue. We don't have to debate. We don't have to say anything about who we are because the book tells us who we are according to what's written therein. We thank you for the book. We thank you for the breadcrumbs that you gave us, even though they tried to hide it. They tried to hide and steal our identity. They tried to tell us we were something that we were not. Then they tried to tell us that we never were. Anytime you don't have your culture, your language, your father, the Psalms and the prophets, the law, then that means that you can be a nothing. You can be not a people. You can be never was. You could be a used to wasn't. Yeah, those used to be the Israelites. You were used to wasn't. Father, thank you for allowing us to get back to the culture. Thank you for revealing the culture through the Ruach. Thank you for sending the Ruach to reveal to us this hour who we are so that we could wake up out of the slumber that we were in. That slumber, the main part of that slumber when we was getting our tail whooped, was Catholicism, aka the broad gate, aka Christianity. Yeah, that's right. If you're saying that you're a Christian, you're really a Catholic. I'll say it again. If you're saying that you're a Christian this hour, you're really saying you're a Catholic. And what you're really saying is you go by what the church fathers say. So if the church fathers are your father, then what does the Father have to do with you? What does the creator of this whole construct, this whole existence that we have to do with you when your father, your husband man is the church fathers? Making it clear and plain. if you, because the book say, somebody could go find that precept where the book say you're not supposed to call nobody father. So then how did we get church fathers? How did that happen? Who bamboozled you? Who hoodwinked you into that? Who tricked you? Who pulled that out of their trick bag and say, okay, let's call these humanoids father. They're the quote church fathers. Church fathers of what? Who gave the Catholics the authority over the book and over you? Thank you for the Ruach for revealing all these truths to us. Father, I ask also that you have everybody understand their lane so that they can operate in it, so that they're not operating in other people's lanes or lanes that they wasn't given. See, that's why we're always in debates and arguments. Father, reveal that truth to all of us so that we can operate in what you gave us. Books say you gave some 5, you gave 3 and 1. Some you gave 10,000 talents. Some you only gave 3 talents. Some you only gave 1. And some of them is going to be, like the book say, you're going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth because you're going to get cast into utter darkness. Because the Father done already revealed to you what you should be doing this hour. And you saying, no, I don't want to do that. I want to stay in Christianity. No, I don't want to do that. I want to go over here and eat shrimp, pork, crabs, and lobster, knowing that's against the Father's will. You want to eat what you want. You want to do what you want. Lastly, thank you for sending Mashiach. Thank you, big bro, for the work that you did. If he wasn't our sacrifice, what would have been our sacrifice from then to now? Tell me what bullock you done killed. Tell me what ram you done slain. Give me a turtle dove so I can do it for your sins on the altar. Where is that? If you can't find me a sacrifice, then you, sir, you, ma'am, are in error. Books say without the shedding of blood, there's no remissions of sins. Who is going to remit your sins this hour? Explain it. Give me their name, rank, and serial number. And for the few that's still waiting, keep waiting. Wise Society, what's good? How you doing? Go ahead, greet the fam.
Shalom, peace and blessings. I also want to impart wisdom and justice unto you all. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. And, I appreciate you saying about, father, right? Because Matthew 23:8, we see, don't let anyone call you rabbi, for you have only one teacher, and all of you are equal as brothers and sisters. And so we do all have a special talent, gift, and ability that the Father has given to us, created us with, to put into action, right? We talk about that all the time. Like, what are we doing with our talent? And so I just wanted to appreciate the reminder of what you said about that verse.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and greet the family like we normally do. Fam, you could have been anywhere, and hopefully I didn't mess too many people up because I had 3 a.m. on the stream, and I looked and saw, okay, well, I didn't mess people up again. I jiggle wires on myself, so I had to set it to 3 p.m. So I'm gonna start from the top and work down. Before I do, though, family, all of you that's in the chat right now, make sure that you greet everybody that's in the chat. I want to make sure that you are doing that and you get in the habit of doing that. You shalom everybody, right? Get in the habit of shaloming your family when you see them in the chat and when you see them in person. Because like I say all the time, you could be making their day, and we need to be getting in the habit of loving and respecting each other. So I'm going to start from the top and work down. Daniel Black here. Peace and blessings, brother. Hope you are well. The Father's been keeping you. Yehuda, shalom. Shalom, brother. Peace and blessings. Hope you are well. My good sister, Darlene Franklin. Shalom, sis. Peace and blessings to you. Hope you are well. Double honors to Dr. Gary Christopher. Peace and blessings to you. The good brother says, you hear with your ears, you listen with your heart. Please listen today. Shalom. That's a public service announcement for the information that you're getting on this show today from our sister is worth millions and millions of dollars to you. Not only that, but it's worth a lot for you to understand this information and be able to utilize it and operate it. And I said
And,
it's worth millions and millions of dollars. It's probably worth more than that. Go ahead, sis.
and I just want to, of course, give honor to Dr. Gary Christopher, who is my father. You if you have been watching for a while, you've heard me speak about the way that I feel honored to have my parents in these conversations for that intergenerational transfer of wisdom and knowledge and understanding. So, hi, Dad. Appreciate you. And, we'll just continue to have these discussions with the family, right? And so, thank you all for welcoming my dad.
Appreciate that. Appreciate you, Dr. G, if I may call you that, sir. Appreciate you for joining on. C, shalom. Shalom to you. Peace and blessings. Hope you're well. Wise Society, sister on deck. Peace and blessings to you. Good sister Cindy Carr. Cindy Carr, peace and blessings, sister. Hope you're well. Let's keep on going down the bottom line here. C, we got you. Wise Society got you, sis. You love Yah. Peace and blessings. Hope you're well. I see you out there kicking up a fuss on these other channels, and keep up the good work. Let them know. There's nothing wrong with letting them know. Mikhail, Yasharal, peace and blessings to you. Hope you are well. Let me see here. Yeah, I mean, I had it messed up, sis. My bad. That was me jiggling wires on myself like I normally do. And you know what's funny is I was in the yard this morning because I was in there meeting with some brothers on some other stuff, and I should have looked at it then because it was staring me right in the face. But I should have corrected it then. Albany, Georgia, peace and blessings to you. Shalom, peace and blessings. Hope all is well. So we're going to jump into today's lesson. If you come in late and you see that we're in show, go ahead and shalom me and shalom the family and shalom everybody in the channel. I'll make sure to put your shalom up because it's important that we acknowledge each other. You folks are very, very important, not just to the channel, but you're important to the Israelite family as a whole. Hopefully, you're getting inspired to go out and do what the Father has put inside of you to do. The Father didn't give you the talent and the mindset and the skill set that He gave you for you to hide it under your bed. The Father gave you your skills and talents so that you can bring forth peace and prosperity to not only your family, but to the kingdom of the Israelites. That's what He gave it to you for. Shalom, Brother Najee. Peace and blessings to you, brother. Hope all is well. And Brother Najee, if you want to join on, I'm going to drop the link in the chat for you, bro. If you want to jump on the panel and listen in, you know what it is. You're more than welcome to jump on, and it's good seeing you. So, fam, before we jump into today's information this information that you're getting is probably worth billions of dollars. And I do not take that lightly, and I do not say that in jest. Because here's the thing, if we were to take all of the information and codify it like the sister has taught us that word, which is very important. If we were to codify it, what would happen? What would happen is that we would be probably moving away from tail status. Don't you all want to move away from tail status and move into headship status? If that's the case, then guess what? You need to be doing what the Father gave you to do. Point blank period. So I'm gonna get off of that, and I'm gonna get on what I'm gonna get on first. And joking animal, peace and blessings to you, brother. Hope you are well. So what I'm gonna talk about, and hopefully I'm brief, is I want to talk about what's happening on the earth, and I want to remind everybody how you should be operating. Okay, there's this fantastic thing called BLM, and right now BLM is I'll say it this way. You're getting blamed for what BLM is doing. Okay. Now, I know that you know, but I'm going to say this just for the sake of this particular show. Shalom, joy, peace, and blessings, sis. Hope you're well. For the sake of this show, I'm going to mention BLM because right now, the world or the media, the system, the construct has everyone thinking that when you see the phrase BLM, that's talking about you. When we don't rock out with BLM. We don't have nothing to do with BLM. As a matter of fact, I'm going to let the sister tell you who's on the panel. I'm going to let her tell you what BLM really is and what that means to us. Sis, go ahead and tell us what BLM is, please.
All right. So everybody that has another device, or even if you can like switch over to another tab, I want you to go and type in blm.gov. blm.gov. Okay. And that stands for the Bureau of Land Management. Now, interestingly enough, the corresponding acronym or letters BLM. And if you go over there and you see all of the things that BLM does, it's the Department of Interior's website, and everything that they put is in the name BLM. So I find it very odd that that would be a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences anyway. So really, I could, and I can share, Brother C. Also, there's some land maps on there. I think I've talked about this before, where you can go and look at how much of the land the federal government still owns, right? How much of the U.S. is owned by the federal government, and it's some odd 245 million acres, right? And so when people ask me what's up with BLM, I tell them go to blm.gov and ask them what's up with BLM, because they manage the 245 million acres, and the Department of Interior has all the information that you want. I don't give any credence or heed to kind of stereotype or them putting us in a box, right? Because they would love to have us all figured out, and answering in unison about something that doesn't even have to do with us. So, um, as you can see, those initials are utilized for government purposes. Those initials are utilized for land management purposes. Okay, so I want you to go through that website and think about what it is that's being said when there's, these fights over what's happening with BLM. Look at the sources of information. Look at the news sources that are reporting on this issue, right? I haven't heard any of us, particularly in large amounts of us, reporting out on this issue in a way that justifies the discussion that they're having. So I think that it's one of those things where they're trying to compel or force us into a dialogue about what's happening, because for the most part, we've been really good about minding our business during this time. So I'll just
Well,
leave it at that.
and you and I had a brief conversation behind the scenes before we came on. We don't have nothing to do with BLM. BLM is a phrase that
Right.
it's no different than when they say communist and Marxist and woke. It's another way to demonize and vilify you. Now, BLM has been used as a phrase when you see BLM in the media, know that they're talking about you because it's been co-opted. Anytime that you see the word black, it's always those niggers. That's how they thinking. When you see the phrase BLM, when you see the term woke, they could say Mickey Mouse Club, ABC, LBQTY, XYZ, all of that. They really thinking about those niggers. When they say Marxist communists, they really thinking about those blacks. So we have to understand these code words that they throw out there and know that, okay, when you use the term Marxist, what you're really saying is those niggers. That's what you're saying. See, I'm not pulling any punches today. I'm just going to give it to you straight. Now,
But
if
don't you
we
find it interesting though that up until the point of the formation of protest through BLM, the only time that those acronyms or those initials were used when it was in reference to land management, federal property, right? You will see those initials being used or hashtags being used prior to what formed as Black Lives Matter, um, as the Bureau of Land Management. All of their, advertisements, all of their public news releases, everything that they have had that on it, BLM. Don't you find that interesting? Look, I'm not into conspiracies or anything like that. I'm talking about what is, right? Because if I form a entity, an organization, I'm going to understand how to break down each letter to say what I needed to say, and what other forms of, those acronyms or those initials have been used and how.
Yeah, and so the whole BLM thing it was already established and it has been co-opted. So there's probably some good information, some good digging that we can pull out of that that'll help bring edification to the family. What I wanted to say though is that, okay, so right now there's a furor and a fuss over what BLM is saying and doing. But here's the thing. What they're really saying is they're mad that the blacks aren't saying, "Oh, let's pray for Israel. Oh, let's pray for them that Hamas doesn't destroy them. Oh, Father, oh God, I won't use the term Father. Oh God, can you please bless those Jews over there because they're your people? Oh God, please help them." They want you guys to still be doing that when the Israelites have said in mass, and it's not just Israelites, it's whatever paradigm our people are in. We have said in mass that we're doing two things. We're not praying for you, which is your most powerful gift that most of you have no idea that it's so powerful. But then number two, we're not asking for forgiveness. And then number three, we're not asking for your approval. We're not asking you how we're going to move. We're going to petition the Father. He's going to give us the way how we should move, and then we're going to move accordingly. And more than likely, that's going to come out the book. Okay? So when you tell us that you want us to be aligned with you, what you're really saying is you guys aren't praying for us. Because a lot of blacks have come out of Christianity anyway. You guys are no longer under the hypnotrance of the 50,000 different denominations of poison. You are no longer on that dope anymore. You guys, a lot of you, not most of you yet, a lot of you have put down the crack pipe of Christianity and said, I'm no longer with that. I'm over here. I'm going through the 12-step program right now of my culture. Yeah, I said that. Christianity is a powerful drug. Yes, it is. But now, the reason why they want you to pray for them, because they want you to actually still be connected to this paradigm and stuck in this paradigm. The book says, come out of her, my people. What does that mean? That means on every level, mentally, spiritually, and ultimately when he pulls you out physically. But you can't stay in it if you got one foot in talking about you speaking in tongues, and the other part is you're a Hebrew Israelite or you're a black Hebrew Israelite when there's no such thing as that. Stop it. If you hear somebody talking about they are black Christian, but then at the same time they talking about they're coming under their culture and that they're Israelite, tell them no, you can't be both. Pick one. What
It's
does the book
interesting
say?
that, you know, they thought and have spoken about being so superior but can't produce anything, right? Now they want to hold on to us, right? Well, ask the question why. We know why, right? But if you were to ask them, well, why don't you just let us go? They don't want to answer that. If you're superior and your gods are so superior, why aren't you guys able to fix your problems? Why are you in this big mess right now? Right? And you want to drag us back in, but you're superior. We thought you were superior. What happened? You know, everything that they hinged their Christianity on is myths and fables, which we know, Greek mythology, Roman Greco calendars, and all that pagan heathen stuff that they put together. And now they want to hold on to us in some kind of form or fashion. They go and get, these entertainers who don't speak for us, these so-called Negro leaders who don't speak for us, but they just have to hold on for the reason that they actually realize they were lying all along, right? And it's being exposed.
Family, what I want to share with you is this. If you are going to pray for anyone, pray for peace, prosperity, and protection for the Israelites scattered abroad. Everybody else gets Psalms 109. Okay? Everybody else gets Psalms 109. And so I'm going to move off of that, but just keep your mind centered on your family. Keep your mind centered on your immediate family. Petition the Father that they come out of her, my people, come out of the broad gate of destruction, come out of these things that are of no value to us. Christianity has no value for an Israelite. There's no value in that. There's no value in the zigzag man, Cesare Borgia, that hippie. You stained glass. There's no value in stained glass. You bust out stained glass, you win a prize. I'm gonna shalom a few people that I seen come in, and we're gonna get on with the sisters lesson today. Yakid Makayala, hopefully I got that right, brother. Peace and blessings to you. Hope you're well. Carolyn Gannon, shalom, sis. Peace and blessings to you. My good brother Yash. Hey Yash, how you doing? Hope all is well. Hope you've been well, brother. Hope the Father's been keeping you and blessing you beyond all recognition. Uh you love Yah. Yes, I believe I saw you love on sister our sister Lisa Cabrera. I thought I saw you on her show, maybe in the chat. And only thing I was saying was Psalms 109 over our enemies. Somebody told you to pray for your enemies. Okay, I'm gonna be obedient. I'm gonna pray for their destruction every chance I get. Every time I think of them, I'm gonna say, Father, will you hurry up and please destroy them? Wipe them off the map, please. And what's wrong with that? See, here's the problem. You know what the problem is? Some will say, oh, brother, see, you mean, no, I'm not. Our great grandfather David, keep putting the greats in there till you get to him in terms of generationally. He prayed, say, Psalms 109 was his prayer over his enemies. So what's the difference between then and now? Nothing. We just now woke up to the fact that we have enemies. We just now woke up to the fact that we're at war. So how come it's not righteous for me to pray over my enemies and ask our Father who created this construct to literally wipe them off the face of the earth? Ukraine and Russia, y'all do what y'all supposed to do. Love it. Yes, thank you. Israel lie, because you're not the Israelites. Israel lie and Hamas or Palestine, whoever, y'all do what y'all need to do. Yes, thank you, Father. Do what y'all need to do. And do it and do a good job. So we're gonna move off of that. We're gonna go ahead, and I got a couple people I need to greet. Sharper One, peace and blessings to you. Hope you are well. And up next, peace and blessings to you. Hope all is well. And Raphael Yahu Ben Yasharal, peace and blessings. Shalom. Hope you are well. Haven't seen you in a minute. Hope the Father's blessing and keeping you. Yeah, Sister Lisa had the show on, and it's the same thing. I don't want anybody in the chat, and I don't want any of the family to get off our square talking about, okay, let's go ahead, because I saw something where they say they fulfill prophecy. What prophecy do they fulfill? This war. What prophecy does it fulfill? Show me book, chapter, and verse, and then show me the name, rank, and serial numbers of the entities involved with it. And if it is so as it is written, I'll go with it. But it's got to be line upon line, precept on precept. That's how we do things in order. Line upon line, precept on precept, no freestyling, no making up stuff, no saying, oh, it's my opinion that it's this, or it's my opinion that it's about Christianity and Catholicism, because it is not. So I'm gonna stop babbling. I'm gonna give the floor to the sister. Go ahead, sis. You can go ahead and take over, and we can rock out on this lesson that you have. This good information. This billions of dollars worth of information we're about to get.
All right, and so we are gonna be going back to talk about how the European nation or white ethno state annexed the U.S., right? I'm using that terminology on purpose. But before we get started on going back to that, I want to start out with Daniel chapter 5. Okay. And initially we talked about the fact that Daniel was wise as a youth. He had to be taught and trained and developed in his childhood, right? It didn't just, happen upon him in his youth, but that is what made him highly desirable, right? It wasn't like Nebuchadnezzar was looking for people that were not educated. He was actually looking, particularly, and Scripture said, for those who had wisdom. Daniel was not only wise in one aspect, but in a multitude of aspects, right? And so I want to go back and revisit Daniel chapter 5, and I'm going to start.
Do you want me to share the screen? I have blue letter up. Do you want me to share it, or you got it?
Okay, I think that I'm gonna try, and then if something happens, then we'll just you take over to share screen sharing. You
Okay.
guys still be praying. We talked about this last time where, the wires being jiggled and stuff, but we know what time it is. All right. And so let's just start at the beginning. Belshazzar's feast. Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple, out of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaister of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. Then was King Belshazzar, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, Belshazzar, I always say, greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. Now, the queen, by reason of words of the king and the lords, came into the banquet house, and the queen spake and said, O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, nor let thy countenance be changed. This English language, I tell you, got us messed up. There is a man in the kingdom, in whom is the spirit of the holy God. And in the days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, was found in him, whom the king Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, the king, I say, thy father made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. For as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams, and shewing of hard sentences, and dissolving of doubts, were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation. So Daniel interprets the writing on the wall. Then was Daniel brought in before the king. And the king spake and said unto Daniel, Art thou Daniel, which art of the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry? I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the gods is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But they could not show the interpretation of the thing. And I've heard of thee that thou canst make interpretation and dissolve doubts. Now if thou canst read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, Let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation. O thou king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom, and majesty, and glory, and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whom would he slew, and whom would he kept alive, and whom would he set up, and whom would he put down. But when his heart was lifted up, and and his mind hardened in pride. He was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointed over it whomsoever he will. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thine heart, though thou knowest all this, but hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven. And they have brought the vessels of his house before thee, and thou and thy lords, thy wives, and thy concubines have drunk wine in them, and thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know, and the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose all are all thy ways, hath thou not glorified. I'm sorry, I'm going to. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Many, many tekel a parson. This is the interpretation of thine. Many, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art waiting in the balances and found wanting. Paris, the kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet, and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In the night, in that night was Belshazzar the king of the Chaldeans slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. Okay, so I wanted to go back up to highlight right here. Okay, this is what I was talking about when we're talking about the wisdom that Daniel had. Okay, so what we want to do is I want to look at it word for word when we're talking about, and I think this is too big. I'm sorry, that's why I'm pausing to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, is that better? Can you see the whole screen, or should I go a little bit further down?
If you want to see what's on the left hand side, the interlinear portion in full, you may,
Oh,
and then
okay.
probably scroll it over. Yeah, that's
All
fine. That's
right.
perfect.
And that dreaded English language we talked about last time, reading through the King James version is often that way for me. All right, and so here we have, for as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams and showing of hard sentences, and dissolving doubts, right? Dissolving of doubts. So a lot of times it's just said that Daniel could interpret dreams, right? But all of these other things are not really often spoke of. And so what I wanted to do was to look at what it meant, the dissolving of doubts and showing of hard sentences, right? So if we go down and we look at showing of hard sentences. Okay. So we're going to look at the Strong's Concordance word and look down at the definition, and we see right here that showing was a declaration, okay? A declaring, right? A declaring, right? Solving of a riddle. You see that? So we understand that that word showing is a declaring of a riddle or a solving of a riddle, making a declaration, not just, oh, here, let me show you this, right? It means way more than what is, you know, understood through the English language. Now, if we talk about dissolving of doubts, dissolving of doubts, right? Let's look at what else is being said to us. Okay, so to dissolve of doubts, to loosen, to begin to open, corresponding to the 293 to free. Okay. And so the closest word that I have seen with regards to dissolving of doubts, with that phrase, dissolving of doubts, the closest word that I can use to describe that is the word decipher. To decipher, to decode, right? And so we understand that by Daniel's wisdom, it was more than just the interpretation of dreams. It was more than just showing someone what was being said. He's also making a declaration and is able and has the wisdom through the ruach that God gave him to be able to decode and decipher, right? And it's interesting that that dissolving of doubts also speaks of loosening, right? To solve difficulties, okay? So to solve hard problems, right? So I just wanted you all to understand what was being said and also to encourage you because we have access to the Father and can ask for wisdom at all times, and He will give it to us, right? And so the same wisdom and understanding that the Father has given, or even greater things, will do, right? We're able to go seek the Father and understand the way that we're decoding through this process of understanding what our condition has been, who set the terms of that condition, and how we arrived at the place we are now, which we're talking about European land settlement. So I just wanted to go through that, but I'm going to stop, Brother C, um, to pause for any kind of feedback. And then,
Yeah, I want to.
I don't know if we gave the disclaimer about the technical difficulties. So sometimes if people are listening and I'm pausing, it's to make sure that I'm not lagging.
And if it seems as if we're just as a disclaimer, if it seems as if as we're talking we're stepping on each other, we have been having technical difficulties. So nobody's being disrespectful of the other person. We're just having issues. They're jiggling wires in the background. I did want to say something to what you said, and I want to bring that up. Mashiach himself said, "Greater works than these ye shall do." Mashiach was talking about you, but he was also talking about himself. He was talking about the works that he did, but he said that you will be able to do greater works. Now, the question that I have is that have you thought about doing greater works? Have you thought about what he was talking about when he said greater works than these? And is your mind being transformed by the Ruach to say that, okay, you know what? I could, if I'm going to be Mashiach like, I'm going to use the terms that and a little bit of phraseology that the others use, then that means that I have the capabilities from the Father to do what he did and then some. Now, I'm not talking about being the savior or nothing goofy like that. But what I am suggesting to you that the capabilities that he had, and it came out of his mouth that greater works than these ye shall do, we are not operating in the fullness of our power that we have. We are operating probably in, you heard the phrase where you probably use 1 or 2% of your brain and the other 98%. You've heard the heathen tell us this. We've been taught this, right? From
They
time
even have
immemorial.
a principle called the Pareto principle. That's a 2080 principle. You can look that up. I'll put the word in the chat. They use it for business purposes, marketing, advertising, about the usage of our brain.
So having said that, that would tell you that number one, okay, we don't know if the Pareto principle is right and exact or not, but for them to study it, that means that they're probably going to show you a little bit of what it means, but then we're not going to get the fullness of it until we go to the Father. Now, the point of all of this is that it's important for us to look at the book and look at the Father and be looking to get blessed on a what I would call a supernatural scale. Everybody else is looking for something supernatural. How come you're not looking for it? How come you're not looking to get back to how your ancestors were moving and thinking and doing and praying and seeing? How could two brothers go and destroy a city after some heinous act happened to their family? Why? Because they had power and they believed on high that they would be able to do those exploits. See, a lot of us still have the mindset of Christianity in our frontal lobe, and we think that it's that it's spooky that we think about start exercising the power that the Father gave us. It's not spooky, and you shouldn't be operating fear. Now, if the Father gave you an office, I would suggest that you operate in it. But at the same time, we should be thinking about doing greater things that are greater than ourselves. Going back to that phrase that Mashiach said, greater works than these ye shall do. So I wanted to bring that out, sis. So I'm going to let you go continue to rock.
Definitely, because that's the point that I'm making in talking about the life and wisdom of Daniel, right? And so we're going to go to the word that you often hear me use, which is codify, and break that down. Codify in the sense of code, okay? And so I added it to the right, okay, all right. And so this is the biggest that I'm going to be able to put it in, just don't pay any attention to the advertisements. Um, Code, as you can see from 1300, is a systemic compilation of laws. From the Old French code, a system of laws, law book. Okay, so we see that. From Latin, codex. Okay, systemic classification of statutory laws. Talk about everything is codified. Codification. We live in a system of governance that is ruled by legal jurisprudence, thoughts about law that predated the actual writing of the law. And that's why you often hear under a system of legal jurisprudence about philosophy, Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, right? Because those would be the legal jurisprudence forefathers, if that's the way that you could look at the way that they see it, right? So that systemic classification of statutory law. Earlier, codex, a book, literally tree trunk, hence made up of wooden tablets covered with wax for writing. Okay. And so you see the Devan traces this through the Proto Italic codex to cleave, separate, which he also sees as the root of kada, tail, coda, right? But as you can see, as the usages of the word went on, we see it meaning a system of symbols and rules which govern their use. Cipher. So you ought to hear me talk about the United States as a land of symbols, ciphers, and codes. Well, here is why, right? A system of signals and rules which govern their use. And so, as you can see, in the sense in secret code is from 1808, code name in 1879 in telegraphs, right? Telegraphy, meaning system of expressing information and instructions in a form usable by a computer. So now you start to see the modern day usage of the word code in that being incorporated into technology. So a lot of times when you hear code, it has to do with the things that they're showing code to mean, which is technological, but really it is about the systemic compilation of laws. And those codes, even with regards to technology, are meant to have laws for a computer system to use, right? In order to tell it what to do, in order to instruct it on how to do, move the cursor, right? Different things like that, emoticons, right? All of those are codes in the sense of technology, but then we're looking at the US and its system of ciphers, codes, and symbols, and seeing that those ciphers are a system of signals and rules which govern their use, right? And a lot of times, people talk about those as being secret because it does have to be decoded. So let's look at the way that things have been applied to code. As you can see, the word essentially code and writing computer code. You can also see Morse code, which we understand to be a telegraph, right? A telegram. Black codes. Now, the black codes were local or state legal restrictions on black persons, free or slave, right? They even set up a systemic codification or laws to govern that, right? And we see that to this day. And codify. That's the word that I use a lot, to codify. Okay. Now I want to go over um, to the word cipher, right? So I'm going to share the tab cipher. And as you can see, we just talked about code. Now we're talking about cipher. Okay. Arithmetical symbol for zero. From the Old French cifre, not zero, medieval Latin cifra, which was with Spanish and Italian cifra, ultimately is from the Arabic cifr, zero, literally empty, nothing. From Safara, to be empty. A loan translation of Sanskrit, sunyas, empty. Modern day French chiffre is from Italian cifra. Okay. So the word came to Europe with Arabic numerals. From zero, it came to mean any numeral. Okay. Early 15C. Then, first in French and Italian, a secret way of writing coded messages. A since first attested in 1520s in England, English 1520s, because early codes often substituted numbers for letters, meaning the key to a cipher or secret writing is by 1885 short for cipher key by 1835. Okay, and so in the figurative sense, something or someone of no value, consequence, or power. So that's from the 1570s, right? And then we do again see it in its related links: ciphering, decipher is to find out or discover, to interpret the code, right, by the use of a key. And to discover, to explain the meaning of what is difficult to understand. Okay. And so we see that Daniel had the ability to decode and decipher. And I pray that the Father impart wisdom for us to be able to understand everything that has entangled us through the systemic compilation of laws, codes, symbols, and ciphers. So I'm going to stop sharing, Brother C, if you wanted to talk about that for a second. If not, I want to go over to the video.
Yeah, I'm going to be real brief. And something that I always tell the family, and this should be layered in your mind, is that we're the only ones that can decode this book. It wasn't given to anybody else. Get it out your mind that Joe Osteen, Pat LaHaye, Kenneth Hagin, um, any of those nut dirtbags who call themselves pastors, and you can even throw the church fathers in there as well, because the church fathers, what they believed was they believed stuff that they all could agree on, and they would put it down and say this is what you should go by, but they never agreed on nothing. There's only one people on the earth walking around that can decode and decipher this book, and I've been saying that for years, and that's the Israelites. Put a 7 up if you believe that. If you sneak listening, if you listening right now, if you in the chat right now, you need to put a 7 up right now. Because see, that's the problem with the earth right now. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Not only is the earth given into the hands of the wicked, but everything therein. They have bastardized the book, or they have attempted to bastardize the book and to make it say something that it doesn't say. You cannot find one Christian in the book. And that they done paradigmed it and paradoxed it to make you believe that it's about them. I need to see everybody on planet Earth put a 7 up. We're not going to go forward until all y'all put 7s up. I see you in the chat. I see the number of people that's on. There's no more trick bag. Your trick bag is empty. Because if I tell you that we the only people on this earth that can decode and decipher, now you have another phrase added to your arsenal. We the only people that can do this book any justice through the Ruach. The Father says, if he not dealing with nobody else, how can they be responsible for it? How can they be responsible for giving you the truth when the Father said he was never dealing with them and he has not dealt so with any nation? Yeah, the sneak listeners can put a 7 up too. They can put it up. All right, so sis, I'm going to let you have it. I'm going to step away for a second, but I'm going to let you have at it. Continue to have at it.
All right, and so I want to declare fair use. If you could add the video to the chat, and I'm sure that many of you will be able to recognize what I'm about to play. I'm only going to play about 6 minutes, so fair use, educational purposes, and we're ready to go with the video.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. And this is a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The video, okay, there we are.
Do you think white people in this country, and I'm talking about non-segregationists, people devoid or thinking they're devoid of racism, do you have any idea of what they want the Negro to be in America?
Well, it depends on the level that we are talking here, because I think you have to make a distinction between the people who are genuinely and absolutely committed in the white community on the question of racial equality. And I must confess that I think they're in a very small minority. I think the vast majority of white Americans will go but so far. It's a kind of installment plan for equality. And they are always looking for an excuse to go but so far.
Why are they looking for the excuse? What is it about the Negro? I mean, every other group that came as an immigrant somehow, not easily, but somehow got around it. Is it just the fact that Negroes are black?
That's a part of it. And that grows out of something else. You can't thingify anything without depersonalizing that something. If you use something as an instrument, and at that moment you make it a thing and you depersonalize it. The fact is that the Negro was a slave in this country for 244 years. That was a willful thing that was done. The Negro was brought here and changed, treated in very inhuman fashion. And this led to the thingification of the Negro. So he was not looked upon as a person. He was not looked upon as a human being with the same status and worth as other human beings. And the other thing is that human beings cannot continue to do wrong without eventually rationalizing that wrong. So slavery was justified morally, biologically, theoretically, scientifically, everything else. And it seems to me that white America must see that no other ethnic group has been a slave on American soil. That is one thing that other immigrant groups haven't had to face. The other thing is that the color became a stigma. American society made the Negro's color a stigma, and that can never be overlooked. So I think these things are absolutely necessary. The other thing is that America freed the slaves in 1863 through the Emancipation Proclamation of Abraham Lincoln, but gave the slaves no land or nothing in reality, and as a matter of fact, to get started on. At the same time, America was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that there was a willingness to give the white peasants from Europe an economic base. And yet it refused to give its black peasants from Africa, who came here involuntarily in chains and had worked free for 244 years, any kind of economic base. And so emancipation for the Negro was really freedom to hunger. It was freedom to the winds and rains of heaven. It was freedom without food to eat or land to cultivate, and therefore it was freedom and famine at the same time. And when white Americans tell the Negro to lift himself by his own bootstraps, they don't look over the legacy of slavery and segregation. I believe we ought to do all we can and seek to lift ourselves by our own bootstraps. But it's a cruel jest to say to a bootless man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And many Negroes, by the thousands and millions, have been left bootless as a result of all of these years of oppression and as a result of a society that deliberately made his color a stigma and something worthless and degrading.
Apart from wanting to live better, which all of us want to do, to raise one's children in a better way, to be better, does the Negro in America know what he wants to be?
I'm convinced that almost every Negro in this country, other than those who have been so scarred by the system that they've become pathological in the process, and we all have to battle with pathology, and nobody really knows what it means to be a Negro unless one can really experience it. And I know we all have to battle with this constant drain of a feeling of nobodiness. But in spite of this, I think the vast majority of Negroes in this country know that they want to be people, they want to be men, they want equality, period. It just boils down to that. And we haven't been able to be people. We haven't been men because of all of the conditions that we've lived with and the syndrome of deprivation surrounding conditions, whether it's in housing, in the economic area, or in schools, or in the vicious credit practices that we face in the ghetto, and all of the problems of closed doors and constant defeats. But in spite of all this, I think we all know basically that we want to be men. We want to be persons judged not on the basis of the color of our skin, but on the basis of the content of our character.
But you know that many young Negroes don't want anything that smacks of the American white middle class.
All right, and so we're going to stop there. Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, and so I see the comments in the chat, and hopefully we'll be able to bring all of this around during the conversation that we're about to have about white ethnostates. And I don't know if Dr. King understood white ethnostate in the way that we understand today. But I just know that this was 11 months, of course, before his unaliving moment. I want to call it that because they already be jiggling wires. And I want to talk about the way that the white ethnostate was formed to make sure that it undergirded themselves and continues to do that. And so he talks about our condition, but do we fully understand the terms of our condition, right? Who is setting the terms? And if the foundation be corrupt, what can the righteous do, right? And so I need to be able to bring up some of the things that I share. It's not can we, I need to be able to bring this up first. Some of
It,
the things that
the,
I share, I just want to make sure that everyone understands. I'm not in full agreement with the documents. I'm just going through them for historical purposes, right? To explain the codification, the systemic compilation of laws, the foundations of a kingdom, the annexation of Europe, right? So here we are, and all of you can look this up. If you go and type in white ethno state, it's going to bring up several definitions, some articles, and also, Wikipedia as the information aggregator. Brother C, I'm sorry, were you saying something? I don't know why it's zoomed in 100, 200.
no, you're fine. Go ahead, sis. You got it.
Okay. And so, as we can see, of course, they're going to have a disclaimer about discrimination because, looking up the terminology is going to be triggering. People might complain that it's there, right? But it is what it is. And we didn't create the term or the white ethno state. So, I want you to understand when I use that terminology, this is actual terminology, right? It's not something that I decided to coin as a term, though I would have probably been more than glad to do it, but it wasn't me. So, a white ethno state is a proposed type of state in which residence or citizenship would be limited to whites, meaning whites only, like, uh, you know, kind of like how you remember seeing those signs from the 50s and 60s era of civil unrest, whites only, right? And so, non whites, and it's interesting the groups that they add into this. So again, I didn't make up this information. I'm just looking at it. We're doing this as a research moment. Such as blacks, Asians, Jews, Middle Easterns, and North Africans and Hispanics would be excluded from citizenship. Within the Anglosphere, the natives of their respective countries would also be excluded from citizenship, such as the indigenous people of the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. In the United States, proposals for the establishment of such a state are advanced by white supremacist and white separatist factions such as the Ku Klux Klansmen and the neo Nazis. And some of these factions claim that certain part of the country should have a white majority, and other factions claim that the entire country should have a white majority. Most white ethno state movements, this is the sentence that I want you guys to pay attention to, okay? Most white ethno state movements envision a state which will be solely inhabited by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants and or people who are of Northern European descent. Okay. So historical attempts to establish a white ethno state include apartheid, where the black population was pushed into areas which were known as Bantustans through various means, including deportations, racial segregation, and the aim of establishing separate states out of the resulting ethnically cleansed areas, the largest of which would be turned into a white state. Now, you see who they are saying is responsible, right? And I'm sure that the Wikipedia, all of these articles are provided by white people themselves. So they're talking about themselves, right? To be established as white Anglo-Saxon Protestant movement. So if you remember when I was talking about, and I'm going to stop sharing for an opportunity to talk about the white ethno state being a Protestant movement. If you recall, during the last conversation, we were talking about Queen Elizabeth I and her fight with Mary of Scots, her then eventual takeover and execution of Mary of Scots, and then her path of being able to create and colonize or annex into America. And we were talking specifically about how her movement and those that supported her was a Protestant movement. And the reason why the Queen Mary of Scots was executed was because Elizabeth was paranoid about Catholicism ruining her Protestant moment. Okay. And so she was specifically seeking to annex not only Europe, by going around and colonizing to create broader parts of their kingdom, but with the sole purpose of also moving Protestantism out into further parts of the world. Okay. And so Mary of Scots would have been opposed to that as a staunch Catholic. And Queen Elizabeth, remained a Protestant, ultimately recognizing that the majority of the people that she was working with still held on to Catholicism, but that did not stop the funding from rolling in, and it did not stop her from creating a strategic plan of annexation. So we're going to go back and look at the review of how kingdoms are formed. So, Brother C, if you could bring that PowerPoint up, or do you want to stop to reflect on the white ethno state movement and the Protestant attached aligned to Protestantism?
Yeah, only thing I gotta say is, aha, we got you, Christianity, got you again. We got your ass. Yeah, I say it that way too, because that's how I'm feeling right now. We got y'all. See what we said earlier, we were saying about Catholicism. When you say Christianity, you really mean the Catholicism, and Catholicism and Christianity is the same thing. Because
Right.
Catholicism is the mother of all of these bastard religions. Okay, so when you say Protestant, I'm like, oh, okay. So then they act no different. I'm gonna put up this this quote right here from Atara Yashara. Sounds it hasn't went anywhere. It's very much alive till this day. White evangelicals and the maggots and the trumpets. Yes, it is.
Yep.
You know that they believe that Donald John Trump is their Messiah, not Mashiach, which Mashiach is not their savior. So they're right. I want to shalom a couple of people. Then I'm going to go back. We're going to go back and have you do it. I got a couple of people I need to shalom. Hey, JPM, shalom, peace and blessings to you. Hope you're well, brother. Kahalia Smith, peace and blessings to you, sis. Sassy Frassy, what's good? Hope all is well. Light of Dawn, peace and blessings to you. Hope all is well. Marcella Smith, peace and blessings to you, sis. Hope all is well. Samara, unorthodox daughter of Zion, the unsaved one. You probably should add that to the end of your name that you're not saved. And Sister Carolyn Gannon, peace and blessings to you also, sis. You could go ahead and get back to it, but I did want to say that because Christianity has never had a bad rap, but they still waiting for the rapture. But they done all this heinous on the earth, and they waiting for this mythical thing to happen to them. Zap like wow, we get to disappear, and we done been hell on the earth.
Right. And so what they try to do oftentimes is talk about colonization and then blame it on only the Spanish and Portuguese, right? Which is a small fraction of Europe. But what we know that during the time that Queen Elizabeth was colonizing the United States of America, annexing them as part of the European white ethno state, that the Spaniards were doing their thing in South and Central America. Okay, so we had that timeline last time. If you didn't see that episode, go back and look at our last conversation about this. And so I wanted to bring up to show you the way that Queen Elizabeth created a kingdom, the United States of America, and everybody else that she helped to annex and colonize for the religious purposes, attaching religion and state. Okay. And so let me share this. All right. So a lot of this information, I've seen some requests for, the documents that I share, the information. I don't have a problem with sharing those links, but a lot of it is in their museums, right? In their museums, at the libraries of Congress, in their government, you know, files, right? That are viewable, or some of them are in foundations and trusts. They scattered them in such a way that you would have to understand what was taking place in order to locate and put together what actually happened. And these are not things that you learn about in school. I don't care if you get a semester of US history and a semester of civic education and then never tell you about their dastardly deeds because they'd rather have people make turkey hand plates and celebrate Thanksgiving, right? And so here you see the Bill of Rights in action, Constitutional Rights Foundation, and they talk about Queen Elizabeth, religion, and the state. Okay. And so you clearly can see right here in the early 1500s, the Protestant Reformation was transforming much of Europe, but England remained solidly Catholic. Okay. This began to change when you see King Henry III. I don't even, you know what? That's not third. Decided to end his marriage to Catherine. Um, and then King Henry blamed Queen Catherine for giving birth to one child, a girl named Mary. Now remember, I talked about how Mary of Scots and Queen Elizabeth were cousins. Okay. And so you can definitely go and look at this. Queen Elizabeth tried to establish her vision of an official English Protestant church. She faced many obstacles, Catholic plots, because she thought Mary, Queen of Scots, was plotting against her, and the Spaniards, right? Remember, she's in competition with the Spaniards. Protestant Puritans, a rival Catholic queen, and even the question of who would succeed her throne. Now, if we go down here, we see some of the documents align with the archbishops, the Church of England, Pope, right? And further information, the Elizabethan settlement. Okay, so we see right here that Queen Elizabeth was well educated and fluent in several languages, but unlike her half brother Edward, she had not been trained to rule a nation. Forced to rely on advisors, she made a wise choice. For her top advisor, William Cecil, and for the other members of her Privy Council. Now, remember, the Privy Council is, the people that were close to her that were advising and also helping to acquire funding for her annexation of the USA territory, right? Now, I wanted you guys to see this, and then I'm going to go on to the next document. And through all the letters and codes, like systemic laws that I've read, this is a pretty accurate summation of Queen Elizabeth. So I do want to say that. Okay, so Elizabeth, let me zoom in so you can see that one part that I'm trying to show. Elizabeth remained a Protestant, but she recognized that the majority of her people still considered themselves Catholics. Therefore, she set out to establish a compromise religion with elements of both Protestantism and Catholicism. Her spokesman before Parliament explained her goal. So this is Queen Elizabeth's goal stated out of her spokesman. Well making of laws, system of codification, for the uniting of the people of this realm into a uniform order of a religion. Okay. So this was her goal. This is why the annexation of the United States of America and other areas that they colonized happened, right? She wanted to have a uniform order of religion with a kingdom and a set of laws to go along with it. Okay. So, as you can see, shortly after her coronation, she called her first parliament into session and proposed two laws. Her act of supremacy, making her the supreme head of the Church of England, raised the question whether a woman could hold such a position. Elizabeth comprised and accepted the title Supreme Governor, and this act also abolished the heresy laws that Queen Mary had used against Protestants. Okay. And then she enacted a second law, the Act of Uniformity, which raised more controversy and barely passed Parliament. This act spelled out the middle way she envisioned for the Church of England. So, is the USA the Church of England? I'm just asking a question, right? An annexation of the Church of England. So, we see that uniform order of religion, and also, like, look, she's like, I'm not going to fight with the Catholics. We're just going to merge and have compromised religion with elements of both, right? So I'm going to stop sharing for that to go to the next document. Brother, see if you wanted to say something while I go to this next one. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Okay. So I think that everybody can hear me. All right. So I'm going to go to this next document, and this was part of her Privy Council. Now, remember, I had said that I was going to share a letter with regards to the people that were in that meeting and how that continues to carry out through entities and institutions and funding mechanisms today. So, right now, as you can see, here is a letter. Oh, I'm going to wait until it's. And one thing to note about Queen Elizabeth I is that she considered herself a prudent virgin, and considered Mary Queen of Scots. So if you think about the first colony of Virginia, right? And then you look at some of the maps and things from that era, you will see the use of that terminology. And so I'm sure she found joy in that. Also, if you look up some of the older pictures of Mary Queen of Scots, who she hated because of her Catholic lean, you'll see her pictured as a mermaid, which I find interesting. All right, and so here is the image, and I'm going to go to the full image between. Well, let me go back to the explanation. I'm sorry. So right here at the nationalarchives.gov.uk is Sir Thomas Gresham to Elizabeth I, 25th of February in 1560. So Gresham was one of the wealthiest men in English. In this letter, he writes to inform his queen that he has arranged loans secured on the Antwerp exchange from 15 bankers who are listed in the letter. And you see how much it was totaling. And this was to help finance the first war of Elizabeth's reign, her eventually successful attempt to eject the French from Scotland. Now, that ejection of the French from Scotland is going to be very useful for the U.S. under the presidency of Benjamin Franklin. We're going to talk about that. Now, given that the crown's entire annual income was normally around 250,000, I'm assuming that's pounds, right? This was a substantial loan. So he basically gave her 6 months worth of an annual income. You see that? And that was loan secured on the Antwerp exchange from 15 bankers who are listed on the letter. Okay. The export of bullion from the Low Countries was prohibited. So Gresham used various subterfuges, such as on this occasion, concealing it in some stone work. Remember, ciphers, codes, symbols, along with his letter. He wrote it when he was about to embark for the Netherlands to serve as ambassador to the Duchess of Parma, who was regent. In contrast to her father, Henry, Elizabeth was averse to waging wars, which were ruinously expensive. Okay. And so we want to look at the letter, and I'm going to show you the signatures on the page, right? So you can see that Gresham's signature is there. Now, I am not going to, um, try to read this entire letter. I will put this link in the chat if you want to go and look at this information yourself. But I wanted to show you guys the evidence of who was in the meeting, all of them that contributed, the 15 bankers, Antwerp, and there it is, signed by Thomas Gresham. Okay. Now, who is Thomas Gresham? Who is Sir Thomas Gresham? So let's go to, oh, I shared that one. Sorry. All right. And so as you can see, Sir Thomas Gresham the Elder, okay, was an English merchant and financier who acted on behalf of King Edward and Edward's half sisters, Queens Mary, the one that Elizabeth had killed, and Elizabeth I. Okay. In 1565, Gresham founded the Royal Exchange. So you guys see that, right? Is the Royal Exchange in the city of London still in operation? Okay. If you have that answer, put it in the chat, right? You have that answer, put it in the chat. All right. And so, as you can see, he was a leading merchant, and Mercer, and Lord Mayor of London, who was knighted by King Henry. All right. And they were known for negotiating favorable loans with the foreign merchants. So, a lot of times we like to talk about the rocks and the rocks. Add Gresham and the Mercers to your list. Okay. I want you to make sure that you understand their ability to fund and how them founding the Royal Exchange went on to mean more business over time. All right. Now, I wanted to show you that um, about his legacy. So let's go to his legacy. Okay. Now, here you'll see some of the things that he's known for. He's known for the foundation of Gresham College, of course, creating the Royal Exchange, right? Corporation in London, and the Mercer's Company. All right. And he also is known for Gresham's Law, which I find to be ironic because it says bad money drives out good. That law was coined by Gresham. Okay. And then he is also known for something interesting, the Gresham crest. Okay. Um, a grasshopper, and a lot of times you will see a golden grasshopper or whatever kind of grasshopper on the top of buildings and mounds that are attributed to him and his family. And those would, of course, be in Europe. I don't know if you can think of any where you have seen these in America, but I'm going to go into that. So, as you can see right here, his legacy is of the law, the Royal Exchange, Gresham's College, Gresham Street, cathedrals, banks. Okay, you see the symbolism. He even has a palace in Budapest, a club, a hotel in Dublin, um, mansions, and so on and so forth, um, with regards to Gresham. So I wanted to show you from the way they had a meeting, the Privy Council. Gresham and the bankers are sitting in the meeting with Queen Elizabeth. 15 of them contributed to the expansion or annexation work that she wanted to do with Protestantism and taking over the USA. And that banking family is one that is not usually talked about. It's more so talked about again, like I said, the Rocks and the Ross. Okay. So I wanted you guys to understand that there are more families out there still in existence. So I wanted to bring up to show you, okay, the picture of the Royal Exchange. As you can see, is right there, right? Um, and the next picture that I'm going to bring is the symbol, the Worshipful Company of Mercers, right? You can see all of the things that are aligned. It's really good to go in here and look at some of the documents, some of the letters. Just look and see what all you can find, as far as some of the holes that I'm not able to fill during the time that we're sharing together with information, right? And look at some of the symbolism that we have still to this day in common. And then also the Bourse at Antwerp. Antwerp is still a company involved in investments to this date. Okay.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in for a second on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
The city of Antwerp is one of the major hubs in terms of finance and moving money on the earth. Okay. So it's not by accident that they have a long lineage dating back to even past these individuals. I'm gonna share my screen for just a brief second, sis, if that's okay. Because
Yes, babe. Yep.
I want to put this in perspective as far as what I'm talking about. There's two screens that I got, and I'm not going to be long with this, sis. But when we talk about Antwerp, Antwerp is the center of gravity for a couple of people, and it's going to be made clear.
Take your
If you
time,
Google,
brother.
okay, if you Google the Diamond District in Antwerp, and if you look here, look at the screen. It says Antwerp Diamond District, also known as the Diamond Quarter or the Square Mile, is located in Antwerp, Belgium. It's the world's it's the world's largest diamond center with a turnover of 54 billion a year. We're not talking about gold and silver, platinum, palladium, rhodium. We're just talking about diamonds only. Okay? Now, I want to show you another image because you know who controls the diamond trade, right? Diamonds are grown. Two things about diamonds. Diamonds are grown in the ground and they've been there, compressed carbon over however long it takes and whatever pressure it takes, forms diamonds. Okay. The diamond trade, the diamonds are not readily available or readily mined in the snakes. More than likely, diamonds are readily found in the land called Akibu land or the land of Cham or Ham, where you're going to get most of your diamonds from on the earth. Now, the question becomes who controls the diamond trade on the earth? Because last time I checked, nobody that looks like me or you is running around talking about they run in Antwerp. But I'm going to share this screen with you and it should become clear. Take a look at this shot of this is the diamond bourse in Antwerp. Take a quick look at this shot and you should be able to identify just based on some of the hats and beards that you see in this image, who's running the diamond trade worldwide. And then you talk about, hey, we need you to send us some money so we could bomb the hell out of Hamas. We need to send you $6 billion a year. Well, why the hell you need me to send you $6 billion a year when you control the whole diamond trade? I see a small hat. I see a medium hat. I see a black hat. I see a black hat and a beard, but I don't see nobody that look like me. The small hats, them black hats that they wear is cold though. You should look at the one the one on the right here, the one over here on the right. Yeah, them hats right there is cold to me. I love them. Now I know y'all not surprised. The G, they not. I don't believe nobody here is surprised. I'm just pointing this out because they're always looking for handouts. Some of the biggest welfare frauds on the earth has been them people. You can look it up. You can Google it. People getting caught for welfare fraud. It's been male and female, and it's the small hats. Anyway, I'm gonna get off of it. Sis, go ahead,
So,
rock
what
out.
is the difference between their synagogue and the Protestant original church and the church, Roman Catholic Church in Spain, right? So we start to look at all of these origins combined and mixed, and how Queen Elizabeth said, "Oh, we're just gonna, compromise Protestantism and Catholicism and form a uniform religion." Right? Is there a difference? I
Same game,
Right.
same money, same game.
Right. And so let's go a little bit deeper into this. And I accidentally stopped sharing the screen. So um, let me put it back up there. Now, again, I want you guys to pay attention to these banking crests, city crests. And now we have up here the mayor and commonalty and citizens of the City of London Corporation. Okay. And so, aside from, of course, seeing dragons, we start to see the use of the Red Cross. Now, remember, this is a entity that goes back to Gresham, who Gresham and the 15 bankers funded Elizabeth I. And now you start to see their crests evolve, and you start to see the creation and addition of the dragons and the red crosses. Okay. Now, it the USA would love for us to believe that Clara Barton, because she cared so much about, soldiers on the battlefield, wounded, helping to serve. And that's what the Red Cross was all about. When's the last time that the Red Cross helped you with what they claim that they help out with, right? I can tell a long story about being in a fire evacuation zone because I live in California. For those of you who don't know, we do have wildfires. And the American Red Cross was advertising that they were helping lots of people to be able to evacuate. Now, I happened to ask them for help and I didn't get it. So I did end up talking to the state sergeant and commander in arms or whatever they call themselves, and notified him that because of their lying, I was willing to go back on the news and let people know that in the fire evacuation zone that they had denied the help after collecting millions of dollars nationally for that particular wildfire. All right. But I wanted you to understand that not only does the American Red Cross have that symbol, but they also have a another symbol that's a crescent. It depends on where they're at. And Queen Elizabeth II, you can start to see the major dollars and funding um, provided to the American Red Cross through Queen Elizabeth II, if you want to research that. All right. So I wanted to show you a little bit about the dragon. I saw that Phantom Warrior was saying the dragon and the grasshopper. Well, yeah, looks like somebody else has some information about that that might help you further your studies, because I see that you said you're going to start paying attention to that. And you see the dragon and the grasshopper, and I'm going to close this. Okay. Now remember Lord Gresham. Okay. London's weather vanes ended with a brief mention of the 11-foot golden grasshopper of the Royal Exchange. This guy's been writing about it for some time. Okay. And as you can see, that grasshopper is on the top of their buildings, and it's on the top of their main church called St. Mary's of Les Beaux, the Protestant church. Okay. Um, and we see how it's attached to the Royal Exchange, symbols, ciphers, all of those things. And there's the dragon. All right. What I found interesting was here's an old picture of the Royal Exchange. um this guy goes into Gog and Magog. You guys can go back and look at that in the coats of arms and all of that stuff, this being part of what is on the church, because if you look at pictures of Saint Mary Le Beaux, you see things but you're not able to see him closely, so obviously he zoomed in. And as you can see, under the dragon is the red cross. Okay. Now, this is a book that I'll put the link to. You can get it on Google. And it is the dialogue between the bull steeple dragon and the exchange grasshopper to go in more detail about what you've seen on these pictures. So here is St. Mary Le Bowls. It is a Church of England parish in the city of London, located on the Cheapside, one of the city's oldest thoroughfares. The church was founded in 1080 by Lefranc, Archbishop of Canterbury. So I hope that the information that I just showed you brings it all the way around to how Queen Elizabeth started a movement. It was funded by London bankers, and the annexation through Protestantism began. I'm going to stop right there to find out if anybody, Brother C, if you had anything you wanted to add to that.
No, I don't. I saw under that crust though, domini or domination or dominate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so world domination was on their mind when they were crafting this. And world domination is always on their mind. They always show this to you in their movies, in their everyday life, news reporting, any media, music, everything, the school system, everything. We've been dominated so that and they keep throwing it in your face, and they'll keep throwing it in your face until you say enough is enough. Until
Right.
you
And
say,
so
go ahead.
who really owns the land, right? And that is the challenge, because we think of America in the sense of the founding fathers, and that's why they try to keep us at that history. The founding fathers in slavery, right? And then you start trying to figure out anything beyond that, and it becomes I don't want to call it a treasure hunt, but it becomes a labyrinth, right? Together, where is everything at? Because the documents and the letters are all parsed out. 43 in this trust, or 20, in this foundation. Some at the Library of Congress, some at this museum, right? And so I hope that this information helps us to be able to build a picture, to be able to decipher what happened. And interestingly enough, Queen Elizabeth the First was poisoned by a Spaniard infiltrator. And so I was thinking about, when I was reading about how the Spaniard infiltrator poisoned her, apparently she didn't know how to decode or decipher the verse. For the thing I greatly feared has come upon me, and what I dreaded has happened to me, from Job 3:25, right? She kept on trying to one up the Spaniards, and finally, through a Spanish infiltrator, was poisoned to death. Yep. And so I don't know if we want to go into the next the slides around annexation, because that's going to go into the role that Benjamin Franklin played. If we want to do that for the next 15 minutes, we can, but I want to be mindful of the time, just in case we want to pause for understanding and questions.
Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes left. Maybe we should go ahead and pause. Family, if you haven't done so, put a like up so that the algorithm will give us an acknowledgement that we did have people on. But not only that, you need to be sharing this information with your family, because we weren't taught this in our history class. We weren't taught this in Christianity. We weren't taught this in the universities that we went to. So the information that you're getting is worth billions of dollars. This historical information will clarify and clear up for you how we really got into the predicament that we're in. And that predicament is really our ancestors put us in, and we continue to perpetuate it until we come out of our culture and become codified. When you see
Everything
brothers and sisters, go
codified.
ahead. Everything, but how we
Everything
should
was
be moving,
codified.
but how we should be moving should be codified as well. We always talk
Yep.
about street code. Well, there should be an Israelite code. The Israelite code is really law, statutes, and commandments, fam. You could say B1 and I say B1. I love Professor Black Truth. And I'll say B1. Yes, I'm black first. Yes, of course. We have to be all things to all men so that we can persuade some. That's book. However, if I need to say B1, okay, I am B1. I am black first. In my mind, I'm Israelite first. But if that's going to help me to persuade someone to say B1, okay, I'll do that. I don't have no problem with that because that's how the earth
Brother
sees me. Go ahead.
if I can, I would like to share just this one last thing before we wrap up, which is going back to the terminology through the Strong's Concordance about kingdom, and I talked about how that word, of course, shifted in the translation, but also the usage of the word shifted, and I put it up on the share of the bottom of it. Yeah. So remember the last time that we were talking about the word kingdom in the book, right? And as we noted that in the Old Testament usages, there was a different word, and then translated into, of course, the Greek, the usage and the definitions slightly shifted. Okay. And so I found it really interesting that um, the New Testament entry or usage of the word basileia, right? And here's the outline of the usages. I found it highly interesting. Now, if some of you might have information about this that I don't know, it was just upon my research of furthering my research that I found this information of the usage of the word basileia, an ancient Greek word meaning royal palace, and all of the things that they related to. You see that?
Yeah,
And
isn't
so
it also pronounced in some places basilica? Isn't that the same thing?
And that's what I was going to say. I have limited information about this word and its usages besides, what I looked up in the concordance and what I found here, Basel in Switzerland. So it possibly could be, right? But maybe some of the family in the chat may know more about this, but I just found it really interesting that they use that word in particular.
Yeah, that's interesting. But look at the rest of that. If you scroll down, you see Ptolemy, Alexander. No, leave it right there. You see Ptolemy. You see kingdom of this entity. You see Zeus in there somewhere.
Right
The
here it
Roman
says
Empire.
Phasalia is Zeus's maid in the play The Birds of Aristophanes.
Yeah, so they're actually tipping their hand a little bit because what I believe is that those entities did have places of worship where people actually worship them. Um, I believe it's Baalbek in, gosh, I forget a lot of stuff, but Baalbek, if you guys Google Baalbek, Balbek, funny, it's like Baal, but that's a different conversation. But Baalbek, where the ruins are, they look like Roman ruins, but I believe they're in Baalbek. I want to say is either in Iraq or Iran. It's somewhere in what is known as the Middle East, right? That new
Right,
phrase that they came up with.
right,
So, having said that, go take a look at that because they were worshiping something, and they would pay homage to something. Now, were those the watchers that they paid homage to, the other entities, the fallen ones? They were bowing down and praying to somebody, but it wasn't the Father. Zeus is not the Father. However, when some of you former Christians close your eyes and you think about the Father, you think about a man with a white beard looking like Charleston Heston, and it's him that you see. That's your God. That's the God that's been imprinted into your frontal lobe based on what they did with the book, based on how they bastardized the book and the imagery that they used on you. That sorcery that was used. That's Christianity and Zeus, the sky god. Zeus is Jesus, that hippie heroin addict, that crack addict, stained glass guy, zigzag man, that guy. Yeah, him. Yup. I come at him every chance I get. Because Cesare Borgia, you a liar. Mashiach didn't look like that. If he had hair like wool and feet as brass as if it had burned in a furnace, that don't look nothing like that here. That addicted meth addict. Every chance I get, I'm a clown. You should get in the habit of it too. If you see stained glass, bust it out. Anyway, sis, go on and keep going before I keep going on a rant.
I just let you. Yeah, look, it needs to be said, right? And so, I appreciate all the information that's being poured out in the chat. For those of you that, want to read a little bit more information, I'm more than willing to share all of the links, and I can come back and attach them to the video once it's stopped live. But here is something that you can look up, and the next time we do this, we'll revisit what it was that MLK was trying to articulate, and how that all connects to Benjamin Franklin, the founding of the Constitution, and the system of codification through the annexation of Queen Elizabeth, who, interestingly enough, had another council, a council called the Watchers, right? And so you might want to look that up if you want more information. I'm, doing the best that I can to briefly go over the historical context and the legal context at the same time. But I definitely would acknowledge that I'm probably missing some information, and it would be good for you, and I encourage you to seek the information, be studiers, right? Understand what is being said about you, to you, at you, right? Study the show thyself approved in all ways that you can.
And I do want to say that someone did, and I said I was going to get to them, and I dropped the ball on sending to you the links. Someone in one of the videos that we did, and I said that I was going to get the links to you. I haven't gotten them to you yet out of laziness. I'm not going to say that I was too busy or anything. Just lazy, haven't forgot about it, just lazy, haven't done it. I will make sure that I get those links to you over the next day or so. The sister Oma, yeah, Bob X is in Lebanon. That's right. That's right. It's in
Brother
Lebanon.
C, I put those links. If you're talking about the brother, I believe that was asking for the picture,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I put those links to the pictures that I
Okay.
shared in that chat. So anyone else that was looking for those links, they're there. I put them there yesterday or maybe the day before, so you will find them there.
Okay. I appreciate that. And also, if you look at the bottom of the video, scrolling on the bottom is the sister's website. Not only is her website there, her email is there if you want to link up and hook up with her directly. And if you have questions for her, you can ask them directly to her, and then more than likely she'll get back to you. I'm going to look at some of these comments because you guys were on fire as usual. Shalom to everybody that came in late. If I put you up, if I put you on the screen, that's my way of saying shalom to you without breaking ranks and having the sister stop what she was doing. Impress 3 Arba says the red cross is symbolic for Abraham's ark and lineage. Another hijack. The first cross was not in that shape. All praise to the Father that we have the internet and that the books have been opened. Like Daniel says, I believe it's somewhere in Daniel. Somebody get that precept where it says, knowledge shall increase. You mean to tell me that we're not in the time of the end where your knowledge, you can go on the internet and you can go ask God, which is Google, because Google is God. You can ask God anything that you want on the earth about any subject, and God is going to give you an instantaneous answer. And then you can build upon that if you want to. Then if you want to take God another step, you can go to the AI and ask the AI God certain questions as well. Now, Brother C, are you saying that God is the eternal one, the ever existing one that exists outside of time, that actually created time? No, I'm actually being facetious. But Google is some of your God, some of you people's God. Not nobody in the chat, of course, but it is somebody's God. The AI bots is somebody's God as well. Just letting you guys know. Let's see here. Let's look at some more of the comments. Shalom to you, brother. Hope you're well, or sister. Not sure which one. We assert. Oh, okay. This comment, I did want to address this. Got to learn to live like servants. We should learn to live like servants under the Father with the mindset that we are the greatest entities that are walking around on the earth. It's almost like it's a paradox. You're being humble to the Father. You're bowing down to the Father because he is our Father and he created all. But at the same time, your mindset should not be that you're subservient or in second place or even in last place. Because somewhere in the book, it said that the tail is going to become the head and the head is going to become the tail. The question is, which one are you, sir or ma'am? Not the person making this comment. I'm just saying in general. Because the way that I look at the book and see the book, my ancestors were the head, and at some point through our disobedience and through our falling away from the Father by not keeping his law, statutes, and commandments, we became the tail, just like he said he was going to do to us in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Therefore, he also says that the tail is going to become the head. I'm part of that contingent. I'm part of the future head contingent where we're running shop. So if we're running shop, that means I have to have a mindset that we should be running shop and we are not equal to anyone else on this earth. I am not equal to nobody on this earth. No one. Not one nation of people am I equal to. That should be your mindset. You are a peculiar people. He said that for a reason. You have been separated. He said that for a reason. He never once said that you were equal to anybody. If you run around talking about you equal to somebody, get out of here. Don't come back. And I'm not saying anybody in the chat is saying that. I'm not saying y'all, fam. I'm just saying if somebody come to you talking about, oh, we should be, well, let's talk about equality. I don't want to talk about equality. That's not a conversation that I need to be having with anybody at this moment. If you want to talk to me about something, talk to me about what you about to take. Talk to me about what you about to bubble and the plans that you got to make it pop. Let me look at them. Let me look at them plans with you. And I may not understand your plans and I may not be all the way with it, but if the Father gave it to you, go ahead and rock out and execute it. That's what I say. But as far as equality goes, we was never supposed to be equal. That's why the whole civil rights movement was bass-backwards from the beginning. Because we never was supposed to be equal to nobody. There's no such thing as equality when you talk about the kingdom of the Israelites. There's no such thing of equality when you talk about us and the greatness of us. It's documented in the book how great we was. Don't you want to live up to that? Go ahead, sis.
That's why the civil rights movement didn't produce anything for us. We're still fighting for civil rights today.
Because that's a fallacy. That's a wrong fight. Exactly. The fight that everybody here should be having is, what can I take over? That's the fight. What can I take over? That's it. Everybody, I'm gonna name every one of y'all. I'm gonna name Rodim Us PM. If I said it right, you better be trying to take over something. Arabat, yeah, you need to be taking over something. Empress 3R need to be taking over something. You love y'all need to be taking over something. Masonama, it is written, taking over something. Pap Yah Yisrael need to be taking over something. Raphael Al Yahuwah Ben Yasharal need to be taking over something. You love Yah. Kahalia Smith, Sandy G, Phantom Warrior, Yashadek, Phantom Warrior. Oh my Yah, my sister, you're not saved, but need to be taking over something. Darlene Franklin. I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to keep going over everybody that's in the chat. You need to have your mindset on what you're going to take over and why. Because you're not equal to nobody. Who are you equal to? Who is your equal? And matter of fact, you show me your equal in the book. You don't even have to go. You can go extra biblical, outside, inside the 66, wherever you want to go. But show me in a book that's written by our people. You can go to the Targums if you can find it, the War Scrolls, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I said the Targums. You can go to Josephus. You can go to the apocryphal books. Show me where the Israelites is equal to anybody on the earth, sir or ma'am. I need to know the precept, the book. Give me the precept, and then give me the name, rank, and serial number of that nation that you're supposed to be equal to. That's why Christianity is a lie, because they not are them. No, your enemies was never your brothers in the first place. So why you running around calling your enemy your brother? Your enemy got it in the. Your enemy got the right perspective. They hate your guts, and they supposed to hate your guts, and they go forever hate your guts. Okay, cool. I got that, brother. See, I got that. I can see that how they treat us in the court system. I can see that by how they treat us when we on the job. I can see that how they treat us when we go to the stores. I can see that, brother. See, tell me something I don't know. Well, you supposed to be running the earth. You got next. You supposed to be running the earth. Lobotomize your mind by what the book say, by the renewing of your mind. You're supposed to be renewing your mind. Your mind, that your spirit man should, or woman or person should not tell you you're equal to nobody. I don't want to hear that because it's not biblical. It's not scripture. He set you up for a reason, and that reason was for his purpose. Now, I'm gonna get off of that.
I mean, but then, you know, they try to say gain equality by getting an education, and they get mad when you can decode their system of code, right? So we know that these people have only proven themselves to be able to do three things: steal, kill, destroy. Well, sorry, four, repeat. Steal, kill, destroy, repeat. I don't see where their history shows anything outside of steal, kill, destroy, repeat.
With you know what they do that's fantastic? I'll put it up on the screen. They make up these laws once they get in power, and I see it happening all the time. I'm following the Trump thing. I'm telling y'all all right now. I'm following it because for me it's entertaining. The whole Trump thing, he's under 91. He got 91 jackets over his head, 91 different counts, how many different indictments, and there's more to come. But they do this though. They make it up as they go. They make up these laws, but typically though, they'll make up laws because of you, right? The California gun laws are in such disarray because Reagan, President Ronald Reagan, that wicked bastard, didn't want black people to have guns and to be walking around with guns. So they made these gun laws in California so draconian that you don't know if it's okay for you to have a gun or not. That's just how confusing it is.
And you know what, Brother C? That was the only time that you got the NRA to concede, right? Is like, oh no, we don't want black men walking around in the streets of California, and we know what that party was called, armed and coming up to Sacramento armed. And so let's create these laws and run them nationally. And at first, they had opposition from the NRA, but then when they recognized who it was aimed at, the NRA was like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan, right?
Yep.
Think about that. Every other time, you know, they're willing to go. And I don't know any of us that's walking around with 91 charges and counts free, still running for president.
I want to somebody said that in the chat. We got a couple of minutes. I want to say shalom to my sister Mary Yakita. Shalom, sis. Hope you've been well. Haven't been seeing you, and I haven't been consistently on, but hope you've been well. Hope the Father's been keeping you and blessing you. Kahalia Smith says, does a person have that many counts against you and still find the time to run for president? Right. Okay, so it's fascinating to me. And then I'm watching it so closely that there have been on the indictment that Fannie Willis, the sister in Georgia, has brought against him.
Right.
There was 19 people that got indicted. 2 people just over this Thursday and Friday, I believe, flipped, and then one person before that flipped. They flipping left and right, and they're gonna turn on your guys' ex-president, you Israelites ex-president, Donald J. Trump, because y'all voted for him. Mind you, let's keep it a buck. Over here, and most Israelites and even most non-Israelites, brothers and sisters that are part of the diaspora, are beginning to recognize that the Republican and Democrat paradigm has nothing to do with us. And this America, this United States, has nothing to do with Mashiach, has nothing to do with the Father, has nothing to do with biblical principles or morality. The United States is the most immoral kingdom out of all the kingdoms that have ever ruled over the Israelites. Point blank, period.
So are you saying that we're watching the Southern planters and the Northern philanthropists fight? And maybe what I'm saying is this a ongoing battle between Protestantism and Catholicism having control, right? And they can call it
So
what they want to.
absolutely. Now, see, us as uneducated niggers aren't supposed to know that. We aren't supposed to be able to peer through the lens and see, okay, they've always had these divisions, but these divisions are getting exacerbated every day. It's getting so bad that there's a civil war even within the Republican paradigm. They just kicked out the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. He just got booted out by one of his underlings, and there's all kind of fighting within just the Republican paradigm itself. They eating their own, and it's so out of control that we're just sitting back, and it's good that if you don't pay attention to that you just sit back and just watch. But there's so much going on in what we call the spiritual realm. Our prayers are really manifesting in the physical. They really are, because
But I
a
thought a
lot of
house divided couldn't stand.
and okay, that's a that it's almost like okay, so if it's a Christian thing, then they'll disregard that precept. They're not going
Right,
to consider that, knowing that the red, white, and blue. I say it all the time. The red means Republican, white Republicans. The blue means white Democrats, and the white means white people. I don't see no black in there anywhere. I don't. Matter of fact, I don't see any room for you in the red, white, and blue. I don't. There's no room for you in that on that train. So you might as well, if you're going to do anything, you might as well do your own thing. Understand in your mind that you're a nation inside of a nation.
right,
You're a nation inside of a nation, and you need to understand that. Once you understand that, move accordingly.
right. It's two wings of the same bird. They're fighting. Bottom line, and they know that their time is up. So of course they're gonna throw each other under the bus.
Yes. Yes. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna jump off the ship, fam. It's been great hanging out with you all as usual. Notorious Hebrew, shalom, sis. Hope you've been well, and shalom to everybody. If I didn't get a chance to shalom you or greet you, hope you're doing well, and hope the Father has been doing the three P's for you and over your life. And I pray that you get peace and prosperity and brother C, what's the other C? What's the other P? Peace and prosperity and protection. That the Father give you peace and that He definitely prosper you this hour and that He protects you. Because we're in the neck of our enemies right now, and the Father's tearing them down brick by brick wherever they are. And I just pray that we are never in the way while He's tearing down these bricks, and that we're in safety and that He keeps us safe while He's doing what He's doing, because He's doing a major work right now on the earth. He's got our enemies fighting each other. He's got our enemies in the snakes fighting each other. He's got our enemies that Biden trying to prop up, those phony Fuse and Azov Regiment and Reich Sector fighting against the Ruskies. He got them fighting, killing each other, and he got the others ready to jump in. Then he done fired up. He says, okay, now I create good and evil. I'm going to fire up Hamas, and I'm going to fire the Israelites and have them fight against each other too. By the way, somebody's about to get sacked, or maybe both of them about to get sacked. Who knows? Who cares? But the great thing is that we keeping our head down. We focusing on the Father. We focusing on keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments. And like the book of Revelation say, I believe it's in either 12 or 14, that we keep the law, statutes, and commandments, and we have faith in Mashiach, which Mashiach is the law, statutes, and commandments. So you can't get away from that, Creflo Dollar or TD Snakes. You can't get away from that.
I
He
see.
is the law.
I
Go
see
ahead.
that Notorious Hebrew said for peace. Can I add another one?
Yes, ma'am.
So possession, take over something. Okay.
Okay. We gonna put that in there. I'm gonna write these. I'm gonna write these down. If you
Yes.
put them, sister, put them all and email that one to me, that last one, because I forget. I got the three
Possession,
the three
take
P's that I
over
got.
something.
Yeah, we got you. What you gonna take over? And so, fam, in your mind right now, the Father should have said, "Bling." That spirit, your spirit should have been moved. Man, what am I gonna take over? Right? Don't worry about if you capitalized or not. Don't worry about if you got the money to do it or not. I hear a phrase that the Christianity always use, won't he do it? If you're a law keeper, what is he going to do for you and you're a law keeper? And you put your hand on the plow to do something, you effectively plan it as it should be. You should plan before you take on any endeavor, you should plan it out. Plan it out to the max, and then you execute that plan. When the Father wrote the commandments on those tablets of stone that he wrote and gave to our great grandfather Moshe, that was his plan. That was his marching orders. He wrote that plan out, and I want the people to do this. And that's what they should be doing.
Whatever it is that you'll be taking over is definitely linked to your talent. Definitely
it's not
linked to your talent.
That's 1,000% correct. I'm glad somebody else said it because I'm tired of it. They're probably tired. They're probably tired of Brother C. We're tired of hearing you saying that. Somebody else is saying it's 1,000%. It's tied to not only your talent, but he put your talent in you. It's going to be tied to your talent and something that you love, which both of those things aren't mutually exclusive. They tied and connected to each other. Something you love is your talent because it's a talented thing that you love to do. Point blank. That's not hard. It's not hard, fam. Because the Father put it in you. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna shut down. Sis, I'm gonna give you the last words as usual. And again, shalom, peace, and blessings to the great doctor, your father who's on. Appreciate you, sir, for jumping on and being with us. And if there's ever a time that you want to come on and join and impart some of your wisdom and knowledge, we'll drop the link, or you, sis, you can even bring him on and he could be on and speak with us as well, if that's okay.
Because I didn't arrive at this place by myself. So, this is much appreciation to my parents for bringing me to the place of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and fostering an environment where I could ask questions and get answers, right? And so remember that when you think of what to do with your children. My parents gave me the space in the room to be able to ask as many questions as I want. They gave me dictionaries, encyclopedias, and they fostered these things. And so I am appreciative of all the things that they poured into me. And hopefully I can pour into another generation just as well as you can. And the final thing that I would like to share, Brother C, is in the bottom, I put it there. I want to share this verse from the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 17 or book 17. For wickedness condemned by her own witness is very timorous, and being pressed with conscience always forecasteth grievous things. And so, in that sense, wickedness giving testimony of itself, right? And you see it all around in the news and things. So we need to stick close to the law, statutes, and commandments, and that's it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, as always, family, for your interaction and your warm welcomes to me and my father, my family.
And this has been another Salt of the Earth production. Look at this one here. Talk about get saved. And y'all know that y'all not saved. Nobody in the chat is saved. So y'all should probably go seek the zigzag man and do what? Get saved, fam. Just get saved.